The governing board meeting is called to order at 5 p.m. Now we'll do the flag salute.
You stand.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Thank you, Ms. Mott. Roll call. Let the record reflect that all members of the governing board are present with the exception of trustee Chong and trustee Castaneda. It is recommended that the governing board approve the agenda of the January 10th, 2022 governing board meeting. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Mott.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so motion passes 3-0. Approval of the December 13th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. It is recommended that the governing board approve the December 13th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. I have a motion.
I'll motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, I'm an aye, so motion passes 3-0. Hearing session. The audience members may request to address the governing board on an item on or off the agenda. Per board bylaw 9323, individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the governing board on each agenda, non-agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input to 20 minutes. The total time allowed for public comment shall be 30 minutes. The audience members wishing to address the board during the hearing session of the agenda should fill out a request to address the governing board form and return it to the executive assistant prior to the board holding the hearing session. Councilman Montes.
President Frutos, members of the board, there are no public comments tonight.
Thank you very much. Moving on to board comments. We'll start with Michelle.
Right. Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, just have one thing. The county supervisor, Doug Cspp, organized a food, toy, and resource event for Buena families for the holiday, and I was able to participate in giving things away to needy families. So that is what I did during the break.
Nothing much, just wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope everyone was able to relax and rest in our break. I know a lot of changes happened since our last meeting. It seemed like we were in, the numbers were looking great last time we met. We are watching it closely, and I just want everyone to know that we are in contact all the time. It's just seeing what's happening around the county, because obviously it's not just affecting our district, it's affecting every single school district in the world. Maybe just a little reminder to get your booster shots. I know I got mine, and it was rough again, just like my second one, but it's worth it. Just one day and done. I am looking forward to tomorrow's school tour at Emory, and doing great. Just seeing the kids and the staff always in action.
Well, happy New Year. 2022 is here. Hopefully everybody had a great winter break, spending time with their families. I know our family had some quality time. We disconnected from the city and we went to the high desert and had our children out there playing with rocks and sticks and having fun with the Jeep and off-roading for a little bit. But it was just a nice way to get away from the city and the hustle and bustle of their everyday schedule. So it was nice to be out and spend family time out there. Before the break, I did have the opportunity to spend some time with the Boys and Girls Club for their talent show. That's always very neat, and it's always encouraging to see these students go up in front of their peers when most have trouble. So all the people that had talent to show, I really appreciate you guys trying really hard to come out of your shell and perform, because it's not easy. Even as an adult, sometimes we have some trouble, and I can just imagine when some of these students go, especially when performing something. So kudos to them. Also want to thank Todd and the staff. They always do an amazing job. They fed the students as well. The Bracking Kitchen was out there feeding the families and the students. And they also sent home a family meal. So that was really nice before they went home to be sent with a family meal for themselves and their families. So thanks to them and appreciate everything they do with our collaboration. Upon returning to the new year here, I had the opportunity to come to the district office and observe the CPR training. It was really nice to see our staff getting trained and getting a high review and getting recertified with CPR training, because you just never know when it's going to be needed, whether it's at school site or out and about. So also had an opportunity to walk some of the sites with Dr. Miramontes, so welcome the staff back to the sites, talk to some of the principals. Everybody was busy with training, so just to be able to be out there and welcome everybody back was nice. And also wanted to wish Mrs. Castaneda an early birthday. Her birthday's coming up this week, so I just want to wish her a happy birthday. Oh, well,
Yes,
happy belated birthday.
There you go.
They said Friday, so but happy belated birthday. And lastly, I just want to let everybody know there's been a resurgence in cases. We are aware of what's going on. Our staff is doing a good job following all that. And I just want to let everybody know this is not the time to let our guard down. Let's practice some safety and all the protocols that are in place. Just keeping yourself safe can keep a lot of others safe as well too. So let's not keep our guard down. Keep going with the advices that we're being provided with, just to make sure that everybody is healthy and safe, especially in your own household, because we see our family every single day. So staying healthy while at home and outside of home is key to living a healthier situation with the cases right now. So that concludes my report, and I'll pass it over to Dr. Miramontes.
Thank you. First of all, welcome back everybody to 2022. I look forward to the second half of the school year. As a former first grade and third grade teacher, I can remember how much students grew just over that Christmas break. And as a site administrator, I always look forward to the spring, finishing stronger than where we started. So I want to thank our staff, the school sites, and at the district office for their continuous efforts as we move into the second part of the school year. In addition, I also, board member Ahmad, I am looking forward to the visits at Emory this week, and also Gilbert on Thursday. And I look forward to visiting Pali, sixth grade outdoor education camp next week. I want to thank the board for their commitment to providing this opportunity for all our sixth grade students. So this Tuesday through Friday of next week, we'll have all our sixth graders heading up, large number of students that are going up. So that's nice to see. And then in February, we have our seventh graders heading up the mountain. And remember last year they couldn't participate, but we thank Pali, our partners up in the mountains, for providing that opportunity for our seventh grade students to be a part of that as well. And I do want to thank Supervisor Coley as well for his contribution to supporting the families at Corey School that live in District 2. So thank you for that. And lastly, I'd like to acknowledge our district safety task force team, Dr. Simonovsky, Mr. Harrison, Sandy Poti, and others that are just running ragged right now, right? Running ragged to ensure that our students are safe. Our district nurses, our health clerks, our home community liaisons, our school secretaries, everybody has a piece of their principals. Everybody is working as hard as they can. Louis Navarro, our custodial cleaning crew, I mean, they've been responsive in the evening, in the morning, our custodians have. So, you know, we've got a little surge, an uptick in COVID cases, and the common cold as well. And so it's hard to distinguish one from the other, but we're doing a fantastic job. And I've received a couple of emails from families just appreciating the transparency and the work that we've been doing to communicate that with our families to make sure that we're in session and we're keeping kids safe. Next is my report.
Thank you, Dr. Miramontes. Programs and reports. Early learning programs report, Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about, although I think we're the governing board, Okay, it's the yeah, so program reports, we've got the governing board redistricting, a draft of the maps. So
That was moved to discussion.
that moved to discussion, so we're talking about the early learning program, correct? Okay. So we got the early learning program, yes, you were correct, President Frutos. So we got the early learning program report, and that's going to be delivered by Dr. Cantu and staff. Dr. Cantu.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent Dr. Miramontes, Cabinet members, and our distinguished audience. We are pleased to present to you the Bonaparte Early Learning Program overview, which will include information given by our Director of Educational Programs, Sari Wong, and our Principal for the Bonaparte Learning Center, Mary Beckelheimer, and myself. Next slide. The presentation will include the current preschool program model and enrollment, survey results from our parents of their most needed and wanted elements of a effective program, preschool assessment data that was currently gathered, as well as our completed plan of action and next steps for strengthening teaching and learning and expanding our TK programs. Our director will now, Sari Wong, will now change it, next slide, present to you our current preschool program model and enrollment plan.
Good evening, Board President Frutos, Governing Board Member, Superintendent Dr. Miramontes, Executive Cabinet members and guests. Over the next couple of slides, I'll be sharing our current preschool programs that we have and the enrollment that we currently have with our California State Preschool Program. Next slide, please. So in this slide, it shows our Bonaparte School District's Early Learning Services Organization chart. On the left side in green are the programs that are managed by our district. And the boxes that are in blue are our programs that are operated by a contracted agency. And currently we have Think Together that's running our CSPP, our California State Preschool Program. To go into a little bit detail about our district managed program that's in green there, at Whitaker School, we currently have a speech-only preschool program at Whitaker School. At our Bonaparte Learning Center that's led by Mrs. Beckelheimer, we have 4 special education classes. The first one we have is a full inclusion preschool classroom that has moderate to severe students with moderate to severe support needs, as well as typically developing students in those classrooms. And we have an AM class and a PM class. Also at the Bonaparte Learning Center, we have 3 special day classes for our students with moderate to severe support needs. And in those classrooms, it is a full day program where students start at 7:40 for students that are 4-year-olds that go till 2:15 in the afternoon. And at 9:15, our younger students, our 3-year-olds join that program that go to 2:15. And to the right in the blue boxes, as you see, the California State Preschool programs, we have it at 4 locations at Bonaparte Learning Center, Gilbert School, Pendleton School, and Whitaker School. And in those programs, we have an AM program and a PM program. And each of those sessions are 3 hours long. Along with that, at our Gilbert School, we do have a center-based program called Learning Link. Currently, it is occurring virtually, but it is more of a parent and child program that we've been having at Gilbert School, actually on an off and on basis since the beginning of school readiness program we have had. Next slide, please. This chart shows us our California State Preschool Program enrollment numbers over the past 3 years. On the far left, it shows you the 4 different sites, and we see the AM and PM programs. We do have the target enrollment that was awarded to us by CDE for our CSPP program. And you do see there that all of the school sites have a target enrollment of 24 for each AM and PM class other than Whitaker. And these awards are given to us based on the size of the classroom. So as we go through licensing, they do review the site and see what number would be a safe number for us to have students in terms of maximum capacity there. You see there for enrollment for January 2020, we had a total of 126 enrolled in January. And you do see across the school sites by AM and PM what the enrollment was. As you also see in January 2021, this is the time where our CSPP students were still learning virtually at that time. And as you do see, the number did go significantly lower at that time. And currently, as of now, January 2022, we are working to increase enrollment in our preschool programs, and our enrollment clerks, along with Mrs. Beckelheim, are working diligently to go to our communities, community events, to share the wonderful program that we have for enrollment for our students. Currently, we do have hold harmless of attendance due to COVID. Let's see in terms of target attendance numbers. That last column there with pending January 2022, those are just pending numbers that we have of students that we have documents, and we're awaiting additional documents to fully enroll our students. Next slide, please. So for us to get more input from our community, as well as to help us plan for future early learning programs at our school district, we conducted a survey to all of our Bonaparte school district families in December. So via Parents Where, we sent out a survey to all of our families, and also to our CSPP program families. They use a different communication platform called Learning Genie. We also sent the survey out to our families to see currently what programs are our students enrolled in. Do they have children under the age of 5? And also what would be some programs that they would like to see at our school district. The next slide, please. So we had a total of 439 surveys completed. And one of the first questions that we did ask in the survey question was, do you have children under 5 years old in your household? And we had about 67% of families answer that they do not, they have older children. And we had about 33% of our families indicate, so that's about 145 families indicate that they do have children under 5 years old at home. So if they did answer, yes, I do have children under 5 years old, we did have them go on to the next portion of the survey so that we can get more information about early learning programs that they would want to be in or are in. One question that we asked our parents is your child currently enrolled in a preschool or childcare program? And we do see here that 71 students, or we see here about 49% of families said that they are not enrolled in a preschool program. We had 41 students, or let's say 28% of the families indicate that the students are enrolled currently in a Bonaparte School District preschool program. And we do have 11% that indicated that they are enrolled in an other fee-based preschool program. Next slide, please. Next, we also did want to ask some questions to help us with future planning. What are the needs of our families with students 5 years and under? So one question that we asked here to help us with that is, what type of preschool program will work for you? And some of the choices that we gave our parents was, do they desire a part day program, which is a 3-hour program we have at AM and PM? Or is it a full day program? Or extended full day, meaning all day, right? 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And from our survey results, it indicated about 72 families, or close to 50% of our families, said that they do desire a full school day program, which would be about 6 to 7 hours of program time. And then we had about 31%, or 45 families, indicate that they desired a half day preschool program as we have one. Another question we did ask about was schedule. Currently, we do have a preschool program that runs during our school year, and also having a short summer program for our preschoolers. But we did want to ask if families needed a 10-month program or a full year program. And our parents indicated that 32.4% said that they would want a full year program. And we had close to about 68% or 98 families indicate that a 10-month program is a program that they desire. So looking at these results really helped us as we are looking at our preschool program or early learning program as a whole in the future of what type of programs, what type of model that we can plan moving forward. So next slide, please. Oh. Right before that. At this time, Principal Bonaparte Learning Center, Mrs. Beckelheimer, will be presenting the preschool developmental assessment data and also all the great work she has been leading through the early childhood action plans.
Good evening, Board President, Mr. Frutos, Governing Board, Superintendent Dr. Miramontes, Executive Cabinet, and guests. It's my pleasure to share some of the exciting actions that we have accomplished in our early learning programs over the last year and a half. We'll start with some assessment data. Next slide, please. So we collect 2 assessments of developmental progress in our preschool classrooms. The ages and stages assessment consists of 2 parts, the ASQ3 for general development and the ASQ-SE for additional questions on social emotional development. For each, the parent answers developmental questions based on their observations of the student. We request this data from all of our CSPP families. The DRDP2, which you see on this slide, and DRDP interim, which is used with students in special education, are assessments filled out by teachers with parent input. The letters DRDP stand for Desired Results Developmental Profile. The DRDP is an assessment that teachers use to gather information to support children's learning and development. The DRDP is used in CDE-funded early care and education programs and for preschool age children with individual education plans or IEPs. Teachers complete the DRDP or DRDP interim with parent input twice a year while observing children as they spend time in typical everyday activities and routines, whether at home, in childcare, or at preschool. These observations are used to complete the items on the DRDP. The cohort data on this slide is for students in our CSPP programs from their recent fall assessment window. The DRDP interim for our special education students just completed their winter for their first instrument. So as we look at this slide, this is a cohort of 82 students at 4 sites that were enrolled in October. And the percentages represent students at or beyond expected development. I think it's interesting to note that the 2 lowest percentages are in the areas of approaches to learning, self-regulation, and social and emotional development. And this cohort of students came into preschool and they've been in isolation for almost half their life. So it's not surprising that these were a little bit lower, but we're really pleased to see these percentages overall. And this data really is helpful as we're planning program moving forward. Next slide, please. Now on to some of our completed actions. Next slide, please. We've completed many expected actions since the beginning of the current 3-year First 5 Orange County School Readiness Grant, which began last year in the 2020-2021 school year. I'll discuss the grant expectations further in the next slide. One action we completed was to begin to review and revise our website to provide a smooth landing page for community families looking for early learning programs. We can now refer families to our BPLC, our Buena Park Learning Center website, to learn more about our early learning programs, fill out online interest forms, and investigate kindergarten readiness resources as they move through the process of enrolling in our programs. We will continue to add resources to this page moving forward to fulfill additional elements of the first 5 OC grant. Next slide, please. As Mrs. Wong will share later, we have been receiving the school readiness grant from the Children and Families Commission, now first 5 OC, for many years. Expected deliverables for the current cycle of the grant have dramatically changed from years past. These expected actions are contained in a 4-page document called the Early Childhood Action Plan. A selection of these general deliverables are listed here under the 4 key areas for systems change: committed leadership, engaged neighborhoods, connected systems, and sustained services. I'm happy to share a few of our specific completed actions under each area. Under committed leadership, we have a high-level early childhood leadership team, or ECLT, that was created year 1, and we are meeting quarterly with this team to provide input and share new information about our early learning programs. We have created and attended local recruitment events to build up our numbers in all of our early learning programs. As you know, this is has been a real concern that we want to continue to bring the students we know are out there into our programs. And so we're just relentless about trying to find those students and bring them in. And if we can't offer them a program that works, we refer them to a program in the community that will meet their needs. With your board approval last year, we became one of only 3 districts in Orange County entering ASQ data into the OC Children's Registry with parent consent. We were given kudos for our over 90 records entered so far this year. Under engaged neighborhoods, we continue to attend the Bonaparte Collaborative and Bonaparte Fit meetings, where we share what we are offering here in BPSD. We've created an internal local community contacts database to enable efficient 0 to 5 provider outreach and to share important resources with families. And as Mrs. Wong shared, we've created and posted our parent survey to gain input from the community on 0 to 5 opportunities as we plan to expand programs. Finally, or next, under connected system, we are now entering the CSPP student demographics, attendance, and support history into Aries for smooth transition into our school age programs. We've created a protocol for preschool CAS to align practices with our school age program. We've provided advanced planning and support for our kindergarten teachers to administer the Early Developmental Index, or EDI. This is a kindergarten readiness survey that is completed by kindergarten teachers on each student. It will begin in February. This is the first administration since 2018 and will provide valuable data on this group of students as we continue to assess the impact of the pandemic on early childhood development and school readiness. Finally, in sustained services, we have transitioned from paper pencil to online ASQ administration for efficient scoring, timely action, and quick entry into the Orange County Children's Registry. We've reviewed our existing early learning programs, including the current CSPP plan, budgets, and staffing requirements for the eventual transition to a district managed program from a subcontracted service. We have collaborated with early learning leaders across the county, surveyed parents of children under 5, and we continue to proactively plan for expanded programs, including a fee-based preschool class. Next slide, please. I'm so proud of our early learning programs and wanted to share some of the parent appreciation and support for the quality instruction provided by our teachers and staff. And you can see a quote there. Whether our BPSD CSPP or BP Early Learning Special Education Program, parents are astonished at the growth in their children after being in our classrooms. We can all be really proud of that. Next slide, please. And now I'll turn it over to Dr. Cantu for next steps.
It's been said that if you're going to equalize the academic playing field, you've got to get the kids in early childhood programs. And as you heard from our 2 leaders of our early learning programs, we are doing all we can not only to strengthen our program, but to increase enrollment. For we know when our students come to us early, they stay with us throughout their educational career for elementary and middle school. Next slide. So what we'd like to do now is to show you how we are emphasizing our really efforts to accelerate the timeline for enrollment so that we can actually have more students taking advantage of our early learning programs. For we know when they enter us early, not only do they stay with us, but it allows them to have greater access to the rigorous academic program that starts with TK and kindergarten. To look through what I like to call Tiffany Blue Line, you can begin to see how we've accelerated the timeline that CDE has set aside for enrollment. So for example, this year, 2021, we have our students that have a birthday by turn 5 between September 2nd and January 30th in our classrooms now. We like to accelerate that CDE timeline by 1 year. So for in 2022, 2023, we'll have students who have a birthday by 5, who turn 5 between September 2nd and April 30th in our TK programs. We're hoping to have at least where we have full TK programs this year, 2 programs next year, 2 classes at each site, and hopefully that we will have all of our TK programs at enrollment capacity. As we move down the timeline, 23, 24, the birthdays will change from September 2nd to June 2nd. Then 24, 25, we'll have our students enroll with us September 2nd through August 31st. And then by 2025, 26, we'll have our students in TK that turn 5 between September 2nd and August 31st. So similar how we a few years back increased the age enrollment for kindergarten, gradually we are doing the same for the age requirement for TK. And of course, for those families who are seeking to enroll us early for TK, we'll be referring them to our preschool programs. In addition to increasing the age to 4 years old, we need to make sure that we have staff ratios that provide support for younger students. So as you can see in 2022-23, the staff ratio will need to increase from 1 adult to 12 students. And then it increases from the ratio from 1 to 10, then that continues 1 to 10 all the way to 2025-26 school year. As we increase our instructional program to make sure that our students that are interested, we're meeting their needs, however they come to us, ready to learn the academics as well as social cueing and meeting their social emotional needs, we want to make sure that we have credentialed staff in order to meet those needs of our students. So we'll want to make sure that by end of 2023, we have all of our staff members within the credentialing requirements. With more students, we'll need more funding. We already have our director, Wong, looking into a grant that will support our strengthening of our TK instructional program. Next slide. Now what we like to do is to make sure that you can further see how we are going to accelerate all of our strengths and needs for our families through looking at our next steps.
A lot of the items here indicated in the next steps, something that Mrs. Steckelheimer has mentioned in terms of our action items that we do want to continue on and expand on. As Dr. Cantu just mentioned, with Universal TK, we want to collaborate here and increase our efforts to expand our TK program, get our students into our schools earlier. An additional thing right here, there's PK to preschool to grade 3 alignment. We want to make sure that there is a continuum of learning. Preschool is not a separate program from our school age elementary program. So we are planning to launch a preschool to 3rd grade committee to discuss those plans and to plan for the continuum of learning there. As Mrs. Beckelheimer mentioned, we did start our early childhood leadership team. The quarterly meetings will continue with the district leadership here to plan for future programs and to expand our preschool programs. Our early developmental index, this is something that our kindergarten teachers will be completing in February for our kindergarten students so that we can provide our commission and first 5 OC of where the resources are needed in our community. And our preschool data will continue to be put in ARIES so that there is going to be that history of our students in our school information system so that as they go into elementary school sites, we will see the information needed for our students. And as Mrs. Beckelheimer mentioned, our early learning task procedures will continue as well too, so that we can provide systematic data review with our staff, as well as intervention needed for our students early on starting preschool. And also today, included in our board agenda's action calendar, you will see the intent for continued funding for a CSPP program. That's something that we do annually to continue our funding for CSPP. A new thing that started this year is we do need to adopt the resolution to continue funding. So that is included today in today's board agenda. Next slide, please. This briefly here mentions or outlines our timeline of the Bonaparte School District preschool programs that we've had in the past and currently, and we hope to have in the future as we are moving forward. So as you can see here, in 2001, we did have a program called Even Start Early Learning Program, as you see right under, you can see the fine prints there. That's a program that we've had at our school district. I was located at Gilbert Elementary a while back ago, from 2001 to 2008 until the funding ended. At 2001 as well too, the Children and Families Commission of Orange County funded Bonaparte School District and one full-time school readiness coordinator. And at 2004, in addition to the school readiness coordinator, a 0.5 or a half-time school readiness nurse funding came through. And currently that school readiness grant is continuing on now. It's called First 5OC. And that's the funding that's continuing on right now, where we're able to provide resources to our families, learning links to our families, and also provide staffing for our families as well too. That grant funding does end at the end of the 22-23 school year, and we'll be applying again for another 3-year extension of that grant. In 2016, Bonaparte School District was awarded the CSPP programs at Whitaker and Pendleton. So we started off at those 2 sites. And then in 2018, in addition to Whitaker and Pendleton, we were awarded CSPP programs at Gilbert and Beatty School. Therefore, currently we have 4 CSPP programs at our school district, and hoping for that to continue and expand as well too. As we look at this year and moving forward, our plan is to expand our preschool programs as we see the need for early education for our students. And our ultimate goal, as we mentioned in our action plan, is to expand our programs and expand our district managed programs as well to an early childhood education. So with that being said, we are creating or finalizing our strategic plan. And in the year 22-23, we are looking into creating additional preschool programs at Corey and Emory School, as those are the 2 school sites that we do not have the programs and do see the need, especially looking at our survey results as well too. And also referring back to the survey results, we do see the need for a full day program as well too. So that's something that we are looking and planning in the future to have a full day, as well as a fee-based program for those families do not meet that threshold for a state preschool program.
So before you go on, let
Yes.
me explain this to the board, this timeline here, because when I sat in the assistant super role and Dr. Kevin was the director of educational programs, it was 15 years that we've been working with First 5. Cinda McIntyre is the lead there, and for 15 years they've been trying to get Bonaparte to start a preschool program. We did that when we rolled in, and Kevin and I rolled up our sleeves, and we applied the first time around, and we did not get it. And we reapplied the second time around, and we were awarded the first 2 classes. As mentioned here, we just didn't have the number of staff members that we would need to be able to move this forward. So we contracted out with Think Together, and it's been a good learning experience to work with our partners from Think Together. We're about 6 years later, and now I think we're at the point where we can actually manage our own preschool program, right? And so with the help again from OC, from First 5, and other experiences here, Mrs. Wong, Mrs. Beckelheimer, Mrs. Pote has a vast amount of experience from Westminster as well, from the state preschool program as the director, not necessarily running the program, but the fiscal side of it. So we've got a plethora of people here that we think we can manage this and run it just as well ourselves. So that's something that I'll be in discussion with the board as well, making that recommendation. But yeah, we're 6 years beyond since we first started it, and 126 kids later. We've never been able to fill every seat, but we've gotten close. Of the 176, I believe, is what we're eligible for. We've got close, but we've never been able to fill every seat. I think there's an opportunity for us to actually do that. And it behooves us not to do that, to move forward and fill every seat. As Dr. Cantu mentioned, this is really early intervention prevention really is the gateway for many of our students of poverty, of color, to provide these opportunities. And the CSPP program does that for us. So I'm going to challenge the Ed Services staff under Dr. Cantu to really push hard and to fill every seat and to move forward with expanding our services at every school and at Corey School, as well as the full day program. We've talked about that for a while. At least myself and Dr. Yu talked about that for a while. Seeing the results from the data, I think it's a great opportunity for us to capitalize on that, especially now when people are trying to get back to work and get their lives back into. So this is quite a challenge between now and the end of the school year, but I know it's one that our services staff can actually overcome. Thank you.
Echo what Dr. Miramontes said, that it is the charge of the Ed Services Division to not only to expand our services for our students, but to strengthen them so that we are meeting the needs of our diverse population. I do want to make a comment and thank our Ed Service team, starting back with Mrs. Centeno, our Director Centeno, and our Director Wong, who kept us in compliance. There's a lot of compliance that comes with preschool. But because we know that it is really the first step to success in a child's educational career, we made a strong commitment to stay in compliance and to even have those award-winning programs. But I have to say, no one has a stronger commitment to early learning education than Principal Beckelheimer. If you've ever been in any of her leadership meetings, you come out singing Kumbaya. So this last quote, I really thought was a direct quote from her, which reads, "Experts tell us that 90% of all brain development occurs by the age of 5. If we don't begin thinking about education in the early years, our children are at risk of falling behind by the time they start kindergarten." So that quote really sums up what Robert said and what Principal Beckelheimer has been leading in her charge for preschool. And that is, we have a moral obligation, as Dr. Miramontes said, is to make sure that not only do we have a strong program, but our students are part of that program, engaged, and our parents are supporting that program by bringing their kids to school every day. And so I just really wanted to take some time to thank you. And if you ever get an invite to one of her leadership meetings, you'll see an adorable picture of Mrs. Beckelheimer when she was in preschool as well. And now, are there any questions or concerns or comments that we could help the board?
I just had a question about the survey that was at the beginning. Says that it was filled out by 400. Are they our current parents who are the survey?
Yes, the survey was issued out to our current parents, all of our current parents at our school sites, along with our current CSPP parents as well.
I also noticed that in the second question, when they were asking about if their children are already currently enrolled in a program, that 11% are in a fee-based preschool, which I just want to add my voice to the plea of having a fee-based option in our district. I had to do that for my son, and the amount of pressure that I got to then take, my son to another district, because that's what they really want you to do. They want you to continue out, when you're putting your kid in another district, they want you to stay in that district. So we are losing a significant amount of parents, and 11%, probably some of them. But we really do need that option for people that cannot put their, kids in this state. It doesn't matter which site it's at. I just feel like it's a need we need to have at least.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And also with the survey, we're able to dive in a little bit deeper in terms of which parents at which school site completed this, and also in terms of fee-based, or whether it is extended day or whatnot, we're able to see which school site is in need of that as well too. So that would definitely help us out.
part of at the end of the survey, we did offer if parents are looking for a program and gathered that information. So our enrollment clerks are now going through that information. There were about 45 parents that responded that they were looking for information. Some of them are currently in our special ed program, so we can also have them do an afternoon preschool program, but obviously that depends on their level of need as well. But we were really pleased with that response as well.
I just want to say thank you for the report. Well put together. I'm going to correlate this back to the leadership book that was spread out through the entire district, this Wiseman multipliers. I think it's nice to see that our district is empowering us within ourselves to have more leadership and take on other roles to expand a service such as preschool. So I did complete the book, so thank you for that.
I got another one coming for you guys.
I'll take another book. I need another one, but I just want to correlate that book kind of demonstrates what we're capable of doing and what we can do with the leadership team that we have here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So moving on to action calendar. Adoption of resolution number 21 through 17, resolution to affirm the intent for continued funding of the California Department of Education, California State Preschool Program to provide child development services for the fiscal year 2022 through 2023. It is recommended that the governing board adopt resolution number 21 through 17. Resolution to affirm Bonaparte School District intent continued funding for the California Department of Education, California State Preschool Program within the Bonaparte School District. I have a motion.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Dickinson. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so that motion passes 3-0. Adoption of resolution number 21 through 18, resolution of the governing board for the Bonaparte School District regarding annual accounting of developer fees for the 2021 fiscal year in the following fund. Fund 25, Capital Facilities Account Fund. It is recommended that the governing board adopt resolution number 21 through 18. Resolution of the governing board of the Bonaparte School District regarding the annual accounting of developer fees for 2020 and 2021 fiscal year in the following fund. Fund 25, Facilities Account Fund. Do I have a motion?
Do you want to throw it over to me
I'm
first?
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Dr. Maramontes?
Yeah. So resolution 2118, as mentioned in the Friday report, it's an annual accounting of developer fees for the 2021 school year, and it goes into our Fund 25 school facilities. And it's an annual report and resolution required by law as part of our ability to charge and receive funds from residential and commercial construction within our school district boundaries. It is recommended that the board adopt this resolution.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so motion passes 3-0. Approval to award proposal for E-rate category 2 network equipment and installation service for E-rate year 25, FY 2022 to Portland INC. It is recommended that the governing board award the proposal agreement for E-rate category 2 network equipment and installation services for E-rate year 25, FY 2022 to Portland INC, subject to E-rate funding for E-rate year 25. Dr. Maramontes.
Yeah, I just want to give Mr. Maglu, our Chief Operations Officer, kudos for this. Since he's been here, we've been going out for E-rate funding. Prior to that, we had not gone out except for cell phones, right? So there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we've been able to utilize over the years to keep our network infrastructure and our cabling up to date. So I just asked the board to approve this resolution so we can move forward with that.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And my motion passes 3-0. discussion calendar, adjustment of trustee area boundaries for the year 2022 election. The purpose of today's agenda item on the adjustment of trustee area boundaries to hear the report from the district demographer and provide information to the community and board members regarding education code section 5019.5 requirements to adjust trustee area boundaries after each federal census if the trustee areas vary in population by 10% or more. Due to significant population growth in parts of the district, the current trustee areas vary more than 10% in population and must be adjusted. The district demographer, Chalice Tilton, will provide information for adjusting trustee area boundaries and demographics of the district. The public and board members may then provide input. The board will discuss the issues at future board meetings and receive additional public input on the proposed maps. The board will make a decision prior to the statutory deadline of March 1st, 2022, on which map to adopt. I'm now going to turn it over to the podium to our demographer, Chalice Tilton, to provide us with additional information, followed by a public input and board discussion.
Thank you, President Frutos and board members. My name is Chalice Tilton. Buena Park School District is near and dear to my heart because my kids both went to Buena Park School District, Gilbert School, and then
Chalice,
Buena
we
Park
can't hear you
Junior
yet.
High. Oh, you can't? Okay. Let's see. I'm going to change. Can you hear me? Stand by.
Nothing. Can you unmute yourself, Chalice?
Yes, it's unmuted.
Unmute.
It's unmuted. Let's see, can you hear me yet?
Second here.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Are you able to hear me?
Technical difficulties. Chalice, can you call me?
Sure.
My cell phone?
Yeah, I think I have it. Let's see.
On Zoom. Online, if the people watching online can hear her.
Mhm. I don't have your number. Sorry, I don't have your number. To look it up.
This is our system. This is our system.
Yeah, I can log back in and log back on. I can hear you now. Okay. Okay. How do you want to proceed?
You might be able to do this via, if you keep yours on speakerphone, and I'll keep my phone up to the microphone here up at the podium. Let's see if that works. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let's see if we can't put that next to the podium.
Okay, I have it on speakerphone. Does that help?
Right now?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you able to hear me? Oh, I see some nods. Okay, if you can hear it, can everyone hear me well enough? Okay. All right. Well, I was saying it's nice to be back in Buena Park. Both my kids went to Buena Park School District. So Gilbert School and then Buena Park Junior High. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oh, and now I'm unable to, or do you want to go ahead and run the PowerPoint?
I can run it.
Okay.
Oh, turn her audio up on her.
I'm afraid that might be causing some feedback.
Okay.
Can you mute your speakers too, please? On your laptop? There we go.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Shalice.
Okay, here we go.
Appreciate the willingness to work through this. We're not used to the technical pieces, although we've had a year to practice, right? We want to thank you for actually being here with Buena Park.
Well, thank you for accommodating me doing this remotely. I am trying to stay healthy because my daughter has upcoming radiation, and I want to make sure I'm able to take care of her. So the school district converted to districts in 2017. When that districting took place, it was based on the 2010 census. And here we are now, we have new numbers in 2020. The law requires that we adjust the boundaries once the census data is out so that we have nearly equal population in each of the districts. Next slide. So tonight we are here to review draft maps, and if there are any requests for revisions, we can look at making some revisions. Of course, we have restrictions to stay within population balance and to discuss the election sequencing. Election sequencing is what districts will be up for election in 2022. We will meet again on January 24th to finally adopt a map. And as was reported, it must be done and adopted by February 28th. Next slide. So we're required to follow the federal laws that require equal population. We can't draw districts that be drawn in a way that would dilute the voting strength of our protected class groups. And we can't draw districts solely based on race. It can be a factor, but just not the only or predominant factor. There are other traditional redistricting principles that we'll be following, considering communities of interest, those neighborhoods that share common interests such as socioeconomic, language spoken at home, income status, those types of things all define communities of interest. We try to have districts that are compact. We must have districts that are contiguous, so one single boundary per district, when possible, following visible or man-made boundaries. Respecting the voters' choices as far as continuity of office, so if we're able to draw lines that avoid pairing of trustees, then we'll present that option. We can look at future growth and slightly underpopulated district, but it's just a slight amount. So there can be no difference between 10% of the least populated district and the greatest populated district. We also want to look at minimizing those voters that are shifted to a district that would have a different election year. There would be some folks who it would be 6 years before they get to vote again if they are as a large bunch of voters that are switched to a different election year. Then then that could be a consideration that you might want to try to avoid. And also looking to preserve the core of the existing districts. The community is certainly aware of voting by districts for the school district. Next slide. These are the existing districts of the school district. You're all very familiar with those. We'll go to the next slide. I just want to tell a story about the existing districts. Next slide. The existing districts, as I mentioned, have to have near equal population. So we've applied the boundaries to the new 2020 census data, and we are out of population balance. So as I mentioned, the difference between the least populated and the greatest populated can be no greater than 10%. And indeed, we are at 11.35%. So we did see growth in District 2. So we need to redistribute the lines. Something else that is noticeable, and I'm going to jump down to the citizen voting age population. This is the category that the federal courts would look at when they're looking to see how well the district boundaries were drawn to not dilute the voting strength of our protected class groups. When I began drafting maps for the district, I did learn that we were able to get a majority of our Hispanic or Latino citizen voting age population. So you can see in District 1, for the way our existing districts are drawn, it's only at 47%. We're able to achieve over 50% in District 1. And so because the way the federal law is written, we must consider maps that are over 50% in that particular district. If you're able to get a majority district, then you need to, in most cases, draw district boundaries that would achieve that 50% in that particular district. So each of the maps I'm going to be presenting tonight do achieve a majority of Hispanic or Latino citizen voting age population. When we're talking about citizen voting age population, those are U.S. citizens who live in Buena Park, who are in the Buena Park school district boundaries, who are 18 years of age and eligible to vote. So each of our 5 trustee areas will have about 10,065 people. And again, we can have some deviation, just no greater than 10%. Next map, or next slide, please. Prepared 3 draft maps for the board to consider. And we will, I'm showing each one in detail in the upcoming slides. We do have an interactive map viewer, and there's a link for it provided on this slide. That interactive map viewer allows you to bring up each of these individual maps as well as the existing, and you can zoom in very closely and see the street numbers. It also has some underlying maps that are color-coded to show you the density of the various socioeconomic categories, such as the Latino citizen voting age population, and some other I think has several categories on there. I have to look to see. My recollection, I was able to get a number of different categories, such as language spoken at home, household income, that show the color-coded concentrations of those particular categories. Next slide. The first map that I want to present to you is what we just calling the green map. And you can see, and I know it's very small to see on your screen, but the red dotted lines show where the existing district lines were, and then the colors show the proposal for the green map of the new trustee area boundaries. So you can see that the difference is in the Los Coyotes, the uppermost district, District 3. You can see that the area where McCumber Creek Apartments and Summer Tree Village has been moved to District 2. It was interesting, Summer Tree Village, the Summer Tree condominiums were actually split in the existing map. So now that particular Those condominiums are no longer split between two different districts. And the area along Rockledge, just north of Malvern, is now all in the Los Coyotes District 3. I want to call your attention to District 1. District 1, the boundaries are just changed slightly to have the northern border be Artesia. And then you can see just some slight changes along 4th Street. I think it's over to Indiana, down to Whitaker, where we've added that particular area. So that particular change right there in District 1 changes us from in the 40% of our Latinos voting age population to over 50%. Actually, in this one, we get 52% of our Latino citizen voting age population. I do want to make a comment. You hear me say Latino and Hispanic interchangeably, and it's because the census, on the census question, the question is simply, are you Latino or Hispanic? So for purposes of this exercise, those terms are grouped together. And then let's go on to the orange map. The orange map does a little bit different treatment of the Los Coyotes area. It does extend all the way, it does include the Summer Tree Apartments and the Cumber with the Los Coyotes area. And again, the Rockledge, west of Rockledge is also included in Los Coyotes. A little bit different treatment down in District 1. The western border follows Western Avenue. And then just some step downs over, I believe that's, let's see, I believe it's 7th Street where it jogs over. That goes down possibly Los Robles or Indiana down to Whitaker. The next slide. Purple map, Los Coyotes keeps the Rockledge area where it is the existing boundary, but it crosses over and picks up the train station area. And those University Gables, they're condos. It does keep the western configuration in District 1. It keeps the northern part of it and the western part of it the same, and just has some different jog overs, again, in those same areas as the other maps. The next slide. Next slide, I know this is all too small to see, but sometimes it's good just to see all on one page, the map, so you can kind of remember which ones did what. And at this point, I'm not sure that we have an action item, but if it's actionable, what we recommend is that you identify a preferred map that you want to move forward to for consideration at the January 24th meeting. So that concludes my formal presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions. You'll see election sequencing is listed here. The law actually requires that we keep the same, those districts that are up in 2022 will be up in 2022 again. So it's areas 1, 2, and 5. And those that are up in 2024, currently trustee areas 3 and 4 will be up. The law does allow you, although it would be, it's generally not done, but it is possible to do. You can switch the numbers around. So if you wanted to completely renumber and have, number 1 be at the top of the map, or your choice, that flexibility, and that would be your flexibility that would affect the sequencing. But again, the same numbers will be up for election. It's just where those numbers are located on the map. In most cases, you would keep them the same, but there could be a reason why you would want to change them. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I don't have any questions myself.
questions, but if we're asking which one is our favorite, I would have to say, not like favorite, but just makes more sense, basically would be the orange map to me. I feel like in numbers, it's kind of the most, all of the areas are kind of around the same number. We're about 10,000 each. I also like that there's a lot more use of like the natural. So we have Malvern like for area 3 instead of like going up through Rockland. Or area 4 kind of gets that area, which would make more sense to be part of area 4.
So for today, you don't need to decide on a map. It is helpful if we know the board's direction on a map, because that helps to guide the public's input moving forward. But if you want to go ahead and just bring the 3 maps back at the next meeting, but knowing that you would need to actually take action at the next meeting. So if there is any other support for the orange map that would help to guide your attorney in helping to have a resolution already for your next meeting, or if you are there any if you want to bring just 2 of the maps forward, or if you're not going to make that decision, then you would be needing to land on a map and adopt it at the same time.
We have 2 board members out tonight, unfortunately, so it's hard to make a determination one way or the other. In my conversation with just looking at the maps, they're all balanced out. It's a street here or there, a natural barrier here or there that we want to look at. But is it possible at the next board meeting, again, Ron Winkert, our attorney here for legal counsel here, if we brought all 3 back with 3 different resolutions and we took an action, we could take which one of the 3 resolutions we could go forward with? Has that been done? I just want to make sure that all the voices are heard. So when we prepare the next one, we could bring all 3 maps forward and then have a resolution, fill in the blank, this one or this one or this one. But yeah, I know that central Bonaparte is really where the majority of the demographics get a little bit sketchy here and there when it comes to numbers. So is that something that we can do, bring it forward and have all 3 resolutions ready so that we can make an adopt for the following week? And if we tie
there are jurisdictions that do that.
Okay.
What I've typically done, this is Ron Winkert, is leave it blank, and then when the board decides, we fill it in. So we blank, and if they choose the orange map, and we fill in the orange map, we attach a copy of the orange map to the resolution.
Okay. We should do that. If the board's okay with that.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'd rather keep it 3 because right now I opened up to the interactive one and really can see much.
Okay.
We didn't have a
Yes.
chance to see before.
Yeah, I'd rather wait. So we all 5 voices have a say in what we set on. So we're gonna go. Great.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Shalice or Ron? Great. That was easy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very
Take care.
much.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate it. I'll be moving on to 2022-2023 instructional calendar. Dr. Minamontes.
Yeah, I want to thank our association leadership, the instructional calendar committee, and then our team, Russell Harrison, who's going to Sandy Poti and Yvette Cantu. Which one of you is going to speak a little bit about the process?
Yeah, shy.
He's just going to talk about the process and the collaboration that we have with both associations. Mr. Harrison, our Chief Personnel
Sure.
Officer.
As mentioned, we'd like to definitely thank association leadership. They bring their bargaining teams to the table to take a look at the instructional calendar. We are oftentimes trying to coordinate our efforts alongside neighboring districts, including the Fullerton Joint Union High School District, since many of our students do matriculate up into that direction. And so looking at those dates, a couple things did pop up this time around. We noticed that the day before winter break, that there is going to be I believe they call it a records day at Fullerton Joint Union High School District. So it was going to be a student-free day. We had typically done some sort of a professional development on that day, but we've also received feedback from our BPTA staff that the level of focus that might take place on a professional development day, the day before you're going to go out for winter break, as folks are thinking about the holidays and planning, is maybe less than 100%. And so instead, we decided to make that a student-free day and move that, what would normally be a professional development day, to the front of our calendar. I know that Dr. Cantu and her team are very excited about the opportunity to have 2 professional development days that would take place in August, a time where teachers are probably more focused and enthused to find out about new curricular opportunities and to hone their craft and to plan with one another as they get started for the school year. So that was one modification there. And we also noticed that there was a request by our CSEA members to have a consideration for the classified professional development to take place during the first Monday of the Thanksgiving week, something that had kind of been part of a practice many years ago, but which would allow for those folks to not have to take so many of their vacation days during that week. We think it'll be a wonderful opportunity to do a CPI training for our instructional assistants that are working with our students in special education, as well as CPR and first aid on those days as well. So it was a very collaborative process. It came together quickly across 2 different meetings. And the calendar that you have in front of you does have the support of all 3 of the groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the board?
No, so that 23rd December is not a staff development day, it's just a day off. Correct?
Correct. Student-free day, and there would not be for both our teachers, our administrators, are classified unless they were 12-month. It would be a day off, a student-free non-work day.
And also the way the calendar comes, it's really close to Christmas. They did have it this year too at the high school district. And we had it in January instead. Yeah, so that created a little bit.
And it was the opposite of the year before, where we
Yeah.
tried to. So. All right, then we'll bring this forward for consent.
Job description, information system,
Yeah, we have, we've been working through the opportunity to strengthen our IT department. And with the our information technology manager moving on, we have an opportunity now to bring back a position that really is much needed to help Mike Magbu and his staff in maintaining the network that we have here. So Mr. Harrison brings back the information systems analyst supervisor. Mr. Harrison.
Sure thing. So we're trying to do a process of aligning some of our different positions, which used to be kind of sporadically placed across a classified management salary schedule. And so we've taken a job description that was primarily already in place, held by an individual several years back. And it includes now the addition of the word supervisor in the title, which brings it into greater alignment with some of our other positions. You'll notice in addition in some other areas in yellow highlighted some updates. Of course, technology changes over time. And so new things are needed and other things become miscellaneous, no longer needed because those types of technology have gone out of date at this time. In addition, towards the end of the job description, you'll notice that we are trying to include more types of things that are related to the work conditions and the types of extra expectations that might be required to make sure that those individuals in the future that might need any type of an accommodation to the job are able to adequately do the position at the qualified level for those types of things. So it brings us into more alignment with the types of job descriptions that we are beginning to update at this time. Are there any questions about the job description?
I'm not sure what the reasoning behind moving it from 5 years supervising technology staff to 1 year.
Sure, thank you for that question. This position, we have been flying a position similar in the past, and we're finding that it's difficult to find individuals that are qualified. So by bringing this to the supervisor level, it actually brings it down several salary ranges. And commensurate to that, we clearly aren't going to be able to solicit quite the same level. And that's why the salary that thus would be lower as well. So kind of matching what we think would broaden the number of individuals who could then apply. So we would have a larger pool of candidates to look at. The 5-year expectation is something that we were finding was a stumbling block, a roadblock for receiving more applications from qualified candidates.
And this is an entry-level management position, whereas the other one was one that had to be a supervisor in the past. So we're looking at, as you know, it's super competitive out there. You know, your brother and your sister-in-law, right?
Yeah, I just thought 1 year is not like place for 1 year. Experience, but doesn't mean it's great experience.
And there are other pieces there that we want to look at besides the experience. Really, it's the technical knowledge. That's really what we're looking for, is the technical. Because it is a management position, we'd like them to have some experience. Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Thank you. Moving on to consent calendar. Unless a trustee has a question concerning a particular item, and ask that it be withdrawn from the consent calendar. The items are approved at one time by the governing board.
I don't have anything to.
I have nothing to remove. I would nothing to withdraw. May I have a motion, please?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so motion passes 3-0. Information and correspondence. The Buena settlement legislation Q2 report. Dr. Miramontes.
Yeah, I just want to thank the efforts from our staff. No incidents to report. Q October 1st to December 31st.
And we also have major topics.
Yep.
22.
Looking forward to bringing back schools and school students and staff members at our next board meeting, January 24th. We've got Arthur Corey's school report, and the Ed Foundation is going to be here as well. Do a little report for us. And then we've got the February 15th, we've got Charles E. Emery, and the 15th is a Tuesday. To remind you, we've got Charles G. Emery school report and the facilities and the modernization update, along with an audit report as well.
Closed session. Conference with Dr. Ramon Miramontes, Superintendent of the Bonaparte School District, Russell Harrison, Chief Personnel Officer, and Aaron O'Donnell, Legal Counsel. Labor Relations, Bonaparte Teacher Association Government Conference Code number 54957.6. Labor Relations, California School Employee Association, Chapter number 569. Government Conference Code number 54957.6. Labor Relations, Non-Represented Management and Confidential Contract Employees Government Code number 54957.6. Public Employee Discipline Dismissal Release. Do I have a motion to go into closed session? Second. Thank you, Ms. Shen. All in favor? Motion passes 3-0. Governing board meeting is called to closed session at 6:23.
Mike's wrong.
All right, do I have a motion to reconvene?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Shed, all in favor?
Aye.
And I, motion passes 3-0. Governing board reconvene at 7:53. Reporting at a closed session, that the record reflect that no action was taken in closed session. Do I have an motion to adjourn?
A motion.
Thank you, Shed.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Ahmad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye, motion passes 3-0. Governing board meeting adjourned at 7:53.
Thanks for being here. We had a quorum.
Yeah.
I feel like it was Sam. Sam had a powerful.